I had to put my essential water next to me because this is a very essential conversation and topic, okay? So get prepared, get your snacks, get your water, and get your notebook, okay? It's deep. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to talk about some stuff going on with the pandemic and as far as how nursing school is dealing with just this crisis that we have going on that came out of nowhere. So the crisis started March of this year here in Georgia. And we had maybe 2-3 weeks of clinical in person, and then boom. We couldn't go to any more clinicals. They had to figure it out. We had to do online clinicals, so we sit on the computer for like 6 hours. Every one clinical hour is equivalent to 2 hours. I think that's the way they did it. So the first session, because we have 8-week sessions at Chamberlain, the first session, we had a little bump in the road trying to figure out what was needed, how to get our clinical hours, how to get in contact with our clinical instructors, because a lot of our instructors were out there in the pandemic doing a lot of testing, working extremely hard and overtime, so it was hard to speak to some of our clinical instructors. Then we had to do different like activities like case studies, or we had to do what are they called, certifications with like WHO, the World Health Organization. We had to do that our first session, and then the session after that they did a little bit better. We have what we call iHuman virtual clinicals. So this session I can say is a lot better than last session, but I would still prefer to be in person. So this session, our clinical is, we get on the computer like 7 a.m. with the clinical instructor. We go over like questions and different topics. So right now I am in collaborative, which is the course right before capstone. So I'm one session before I'm the session where we just do nothing but ATI and NCLEX review. So we're going over everything: peds, med surge, mother baby, ICU, mental health. What was the other one that we had? Fundamentals, and what was my last class? Ooh, what was my other specialty? What was the specialty before? And I hated it. Community. That's what it was. So we're going over literally everything. So that's what you do with your clinical instructor. You're going over questions, topics, and then you go and do these cases in iHuman. So iHuman is something that Chamberlain provides to us. We go through our Chamberlain portal. We go to iHuman cases. They tell us what person we're doing that day, and usually that person goes with our topic of the week. So this week we did peds. Last week we did mother baby. The week before that was med surge. Next week we're doing mental. So this week our case was on a peds patient. The peds patient presented with asthma exacerbation. So you go in, you review his chart, you write your little notes on the side, you compare it to your expert. Next step, you do assessment on the patient, and you ask questions. They respond back to you. You introduce yourself. But what I'm learning with this is like it's a full body review. It's not, when you go in, we're thinking, okay, we're going to do a focused assessment. No, you do full head to toe assessment on this patient. You ask all the vital questions, make sure they're comfortable, make sure they have their remote in reach. Then you do a full body assessment after those questions. So you do heart rate, vital signs, you do abdominal assessments, heart assessments, respiratory assessments. You check for mental status, you check extremities. Then you also do, it's pretty cool for it to be a virtual thing, you do the blood pressure. So you actually do a manual blood pressure, you pump it up, you you type in what you get on respirations, heart rate, blood pressure, compare it to the expert, then you do your actions. What are you going to do? What's pertinent? What are your 2 top priorities? And you do your nurse's note. So, I mean, it has its pros and cons, but the fact that they're finding a way for us to continue to get our clinical hours and still do our lectures online is amazing. So I'm glad about that, because it's not really hindering us from graduating. Now, the pandemic and clinicals, not clinicals, but the pandemic and residencies. So I can't speak for every state, but I can speak for Georgia. A lot of the hospitals in Georgia are taking a hit due to the pandemic financially, and a lot of the smaller hospitals, from my resources I'm hearing, are actually postponing residency. But a lot of the big hospitals are still doing it, but everything has changed. So you used to go in and do face-to-face interviews. Now everything is virtual. So you have to do virtual interviews, make sure your background looks nice. It's a little different. They ask you questions as far as your practicum, but right now no student is able to do a practicum. So they're trying to figure out ways, to still allow you to get into that specialty that you want to be in, but usually they have higher requirements, especially for areas like ICU. They prefer that you have your practicum in an ICU unit, but right now we're not able to do that. So a lot of hospitals are still doing residency. It's still going on, but it's a lot of different changes due to the pandemic and, COVID-19. I can say a lot of hospitals have an outside budget for these residencies, so I don't think nursing students should, worry about getting into a residency, but I would say look early. I have heard from some clinical instructors that testing is different now. They changed how many numbers of tests you get, the minimum and the maximum. And they're also trying to implement the 6-foot distance away from each other while you're testing. So if you're going to graduate anytime soon, I would suggest you hurry up and get your paperwork in, because the longer you wait, the longer it'll take for you to actually be able to sit, because it's only a limited amount of people who are allowed to sit in that testing site. So they're not holding as many students as they used to. So I've heard that a lot of people are actually flying to different states who are encompassed in the compact license just to sit for their boards. So that's another thing that COVID has impacted as far as the nursing situation goes. But we're still, like, a lot of hospitals are ramping up again, so they're going to need us nurses. So don't worry. So that is my COVID update on nursing school, residency, and testing. See you later. Why wouldn't you be excited to buy a house, Gabe? You're excited. You get to pick everything. You get to pick the stone outside. You get to pick the color of stuff. You get to pick how it's going to be decorated. You get to pick your own flooring, your own